Is the orthodox teaching of divinization a biblical doctrine? St. Athanasius of Alexandria famously expressed the heart of Orthodox theology in his maxim that God became man so that man might become God. Jesus Christ does not merely save us from sin or improve us in virtue. Rather, he bridges the great chasm separating the existence of the creature and the life of the Creator. Eternally existent is God the Word. He takes into his personal existence truly human life, thereby transfiguring the meaning of human life and opening to all mankind the possibility of truly knowing and sharing in a kind of existence that has no beginning in time. Many inquirers wonder whether this story can be found in the scriptures. In this video, I hope to show how theosis, or divinization, can be rightly understood as the heart and soul of the biblical teaching. The story of Scripture from its beginning concerns the intention of God to make the world his habitation, a place wherein he will dwell within and alongside the human family, the image of God. The language of God's resting on the Sabbath is language used in Scripture to refer to God's dwelling in the world as his temple. We find in Genesis chapter 2 that Adam is called into existence by the inbreathing of God's own Spirit into the dust of the ground. Creation itself began with the Spirit of God blowing over the face of the waters. Our breath represents our life. It is our motion and pattern of being, and our bodies are sustained in life through the blood, which carries breath to all parts of the body. Leviticus 17 therefore says, "The life of the flesh is in the blood." When God creates Adam by breathing his own Spirit into the world, man's destiny is revealed. It is to share in the life of God. Moreover, when we speak, we do so by breath and air. In Genesis 1, God names creatures after molding them. And in Genesis 2, Adam, having been created with God's own breath, names the animals on God's behalf. The garden in which Adam dwells is a temple or sanctuary in which God dwells. As the temple was on the holy mountain, Ezekiel 28 says that the Garden of Eden was on a mountain. The Garden of Eden was guarded by cherubim. Cherubim and trees are carved into the doors of the temple. After the fall, Adam is expelled from the presence of the Lord, having been unable to withstand it due to his sin. The rest of Scripture is centered on the reparation of the link God means to exist between heaven and earth, between his space and our space, between his own life and the life of those who bear his image. In Genesis 28, Jacob beholds a ladder to heaven, beside which God stands. After seeing this, Jacob changes the name of the city of Luz to Bethel, meaning the house of God. God makes his presence available to Jacob so that Jacob can turn the city of man into the house of God. And at the climax of Jacob's story, he wrestles with God and saw God face to face. Adam had turned away from the face of God and died, yet Jacob looks upon the face of God and lives. Israel's mission is most fully elaborated at Mount Sinai, for it is at Sinai that the narrative arc, which began in Genesis, reaches an anticipated climax. Genesis began with God's intent to make the world his resting place, and at the end of Exodus we are told that the glory of God filled up the tabernacle, with Israel's priesthood prepared to minister therein. While Adam was naked and ashamed, Israel's priesthood has been given clothes for glory and for beauty. The Garden of Eden was surrounded by a land in which there was abundant gold and onyx, and the high priest wears a crown of gold and shoulder pieces of onyx. It is the high priest who annually enters into the divine presence and ministers to God on behalf of Israel on the Day of Atonement. The purgation of Israel's transgressions occurs when the high priest, representing the whole nation, is enabled to enter directly into God's presence and come out again. A story which ritually repeats the great act of Moses' intercession for Israel after the sin with the golden calf. Moses ascends the mountain of God as a representative of Israel, is placed inside the earth in a cleft of the rock, and then comes out again radiant with the glory of God. Moses' face shines with God's glory so that a veil must be placed over his skin. The veil recalls the veil which concealed the Ark of the Covenant as the place where the divine presence rested. Moses' face shines with light, which is uncreated, and Moses is a representative of the nation of Israel, as Israel herself is a representative of the entire human race. Moses' life anticipated the life of Israel, and when Israel goes into Egypt, we read of 70 descendants of Jacob, who are images of the 70 nations of the entire world. Israel's mission is to prepare the world as a habitation for God, in which he will make his presence known forever in and through mankind as his image. Jesus Christ, as the Messiah of Israel, is the climax of Israel's story, and the one who brings it to fruition. The beginning of Matthew's Gospel identifies Jesus as Emmanuel, God with us. Yet this is more than a statement that Jesus is a sign of God's presence with us. For at the end of Matthew's Gospel, Jesus tells us that he will be the one who is with us for all eternity. The Magi adorn the place of Jesus' birth with gold and frankincense, as Isaiah tells us that the Gentiles will adorn the place of God's temple with gold and frankincense. Jesus descends from heaven to bring all earth up into heaven. For that reason, on the Mount of Transfiguration, Jesus shines with divine glory. He is called the beloved Son of God. A son is like his father. Human sons are begotten from human fathers, sharing the same kind of existence. And Jesus is the only begotten Son, who is and always has been eternally flowing forth from his Father's side. Yet when Jesus is radiant with divine glory, the apostles Peter, James, and John are inside the cloud. As the scripture says, "In thy light do we see light." Jesus is forever the Son of the Father, and God's fatherhood is not a quality he takes on in relation to the world. Instead, it is innate to who God is. The Apostle Paul thus writes that all fatherhood in heaven and on earth is named for the Father of Jesus as the only begotten Son. Likewise, in Proverbs 8, the uncreated wisdom by whom God created the world is himself said to have been begotten prior to the creation of the world, in the time of eternity. This is why the New Testament describes our salvation in Jesus Christ as a participation in his sonship. When we become sons of God, we are participating in a kind of life and existence that is beginningless in time and infinite. We are participating in God's very own life. This is why the apostles hear Jesus called the beloved Son of the Father when inside the cloud of transfiguration. The Son of God became the Son of Man to make the sons of men into sons of God. So the Apostle Paul tells us that the redemption of our body is our adoption as sons, which occurs when the glory of God is revealed in us, liberating the creation from death and decay. The glory of God is that divine light which led Israel in the wilderness and filled up the temple. It is the very presence of God which indwells us, endows us with a new name, and adopts us into the very sonship which belongs to the person of Jesus Christ forever. When Adam was created, he was naked and unashamed. When Adam fell, he was naked and ashamed. In the life of the world to come, we are clothed in robes of glory and honor because we are clothed in God's life. The beginning of the book of Revelation thus describes the risen and glorious Jesus Christ. Both God and man, he looks upon us with eyes like Adam's, but which shine with fiery light from God. His hair is taken from Adam's lineage, yet it is whitened by the brightness of divine splendor. And we, the church, are his bride. He gives us all he has, and he has the glory of God and a face shining like the sun. So the city bride of God also has the glory of God, and has no need of sun because of his dwelling therein. As our clothing both constitutes and expresses our identity, to be clothed in God's life means that God has caused us to be born again into a life which has neither beginning nor end. The new name with which we are named in Jesus Christ is the name spoken by the Father to the Word from all eternity, Son. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting this channel as a patron or paid Substack subscriber. I post reflections on scripture 6 days per week, and 3 of these posts are exclusive to those who are patrons or paid Substack subscribers at $5 per month. At $10 per month, patrons have access both to all of my written content as well as to weekly exclusive videos of about a half hour per week. At $35 per month, patrons receive access to all of my written and recorded exclusive content, as well as the ability to schedule monthly calls of 1 hour every month, as long as you remain a patron at that level. Please also consider purchase my lecture sets, Answering Protestantism from the Bible, 17 hours, and Answering Calvinism from the Bible, 6.5 hours. These can be purchased either individually or together for a discount. All links are in the description box and pinned comment. Your support, both financially and through daily prayer, is what enables me to produce regular, high-quality, and original content.